as I was saying, Joy Taylor, every dog has its day. And since I'm a big dog, I've got 2 days.
Okay.
So now.
You just called yourself a dog?
Yeah, I'm a dog. Yeah, I'm a big dog, a big one.
Kevin Durant is 6'11", who can pull up from 40.
Okay.
This brother is on that level. I'm talking about offensively.
Do you think you're better than Darrelle Revis is right now?
I'm better than you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Low Down Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brown. As always, I got another special guest on the show. He's an Oklahoma State beat writer for the Oklahoman, which is in Oklahoma City. His name is Jacob Unruh. I had him on the show in the past, and I'm having him on again. Actually, I had him on last year, as a matter of fact. It was 2019. Now it's 2020, and unfortunately, 2020 is not so hot right now. I mean, there's a lot of negative commotion going on this year, but hopefully it gets better as time goes on. And I just wanted to say, Jacob, welcome back to the show.
Mark, I appreciate you having me as always. Speaking of 2020 kind of being rough, I saw one of those memes were sent to me today where if 2020 was a slide and the slide was a cheese grater, so that kind of feels like 2020 for you.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good. Oh man, that's the thing. The internet, even during rough times, the internet never fails.
Exactly. And the memes right now are gold during all this. So.
Oh, they really are. That's something we'll never forget. But anyway, since you're an Oklahoma State beat writer, I heard that Mike Gundy he received some heat on the internet recently, earlier this week, as a matter of fact, because today is Friday. This is back on, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, so about 2 to 3 days ago, where he was talking about planning to have a plan for the Oklahoma State football team to start on May 1st, even though that the Big 12 Conference suspended all team activities through May 31st, as a matter of fact, because of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. So what were your thoughts on Mike Gundy having such an early start?
Well, I think, and I've been telling people this, I'm not going to fault Mike for wanting to get back to normal life, get back to football. I think there's a belief, and I agree with it, and it might be because I'm a sports guy. Sports is what's going to heal people at this point. And I don't mean physically, like it's just going to bring people back. It's going to help people mentally, things like that, to see sports back. And football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, people want to get that back as soon as possible. And I don't blame Mike for that too, but I think what gets lost a little bit in his comments was his plan was he wanted his staff to start returning May 1st. He wanted staff members, coaches, whatever, to be able to start coming back May 1st, if possible. He said it could be backed up. He understands. And then the players to follow soon after, because he believes that he believes that there's going to be testing available that'll help at that point too, that he can get people tested. He believes they can quarantine players. They still get sick or whatever. So I think it was this process that he wanted to start May 1st if possible. And it just I don't know if his words came out wrong. I don't want to speak for Mike on that. I don't want to speak to what he was thinking. But that's kind of the way I understood it, was that his plan was to get things rolling May 1st in some shape or form.
Exactly. And then I saw that U.S. Senator Chris Murphy called out Mike Gundy just like on Twitter. He said, when I quote, he says, "Here, Oklahoma State football coach Mike Gundy argues to ignore the risk that unpaid college athletes will get COVID." And he quotes, "because we need to run money through the state." And he puts, "Sometimes the secret is said out loud. College football isn't about student athletes. It's about the money." That's what Chris Murphy tweeted out. And I'm not on either side. I have no comment for Mike Gundy's thoughts. I mean, you were right. I agree with what you said, like your statement is that sports does heal people in a way, and it definitely keeps your mind like distracted of what's going on. And we've seen it happen before in the past during tragedy. And I mean, just this form of tragedy is completely different. Like, it's to the point where you can't really interact with anybody face to face. I mean, you have to do everything remotely. So, look at the NBA, for crying out loud. The NBA is having a horse tournament starting this Sunday, as a matter of fact, from what I've read. And to see for football, I just want to see something happen, because like we also found out about the NFL draft, how it's going to be basically from home. It's going to be virtual. And for college football, like spring football, obviously has been not postponed, but just completely canceled all over the country. And in order for, I'm just saying, I'm going to just say it this way, in order for players to be fully ready for this, like especially for fall camp, because, what I'm confused about is summer workouts, because summer workouts usually doesn't start for most schools until the very end of May, like the last week of May and the first week of June. That's when they start summer workouts for college football teams. And then it's already April 10th, And most spring games would have been happening within this week. I think with the first wave of spring games would have happened this past week, this week for sure, and then next week. So within this pretty much the month of April is where spring games are taking place all over the country, especially for Power 5 schools. So especially in the Big 12, as a matter of fact, because you see them, there'll be a few games one week, and then there'll be like mid-April, there'll be the rest of them. So it'll be like the first wave and the second wave. And I'm assuming that Oklahoma State's do you know what their scheduled spring game was?
It was supposed to be a week from Saturday. The 18th, yeah.
That would have been here that's sooner than you. Man, that was quick. Because spring ball actually as a matter of fact they did start spring ball. As a matter of fact, didn't they start practicing?
Yeah, they actually got in 3 practices before.
Oh, so what was that like then? What was it like going through that? Because I know you guys are required to be there during media days. Because I know during spring football they'll have media. They'll have after practice, during post practices, they'll have media personnel show up and start interviewing either Coach Gundy or a few players that were scheduled to be talked to by you guys. So what was it like going through that process during those first 3 practices and then going from that to them just completely just shutting everything down? So how did it feel going through that process?
Well, I was there for the first day of practice when we had player availability and spoke with Mike Gundy. And then I actually went to Kansas City for the Big 12 basketball tournament where that shut down while we were there. There was another football availability. They had pro day, but there wasn't another football. We didn't get another chance to talk to football players after that first day or go to practice or anything. But the basketball tournament shutting down was kind of surreal watching that all happen. It just felt so strange watching a major national event like that dissolve in front of you. And it, that kind of woke me up to how serious this thing was. Because at that point we had no idea, and the Thunder Jazz game happened the first night of the Big 12 tournament, and you start to get really fearful of things. And then things just really kind of shut down after that. And to watch it all shut down in person was very eye-opening.
I couldn't imagine. And then just reverting back to what Gundy news, I noticed that he had a plan. So they said on Tuesday he had a teleconference, and he suggested that players should be basically in a housing community together, not all together, but separate. And he said that was during his training plan. And he said part of his plan was to test the players, to see if they're positive, test them for COVID-19, and if they're all. He was basically thinking if they're all cleared, then they could start training. Not together, but in separate sessions. But at the same time, that would have been kind of confusing because that means they'll have to work out individually because you can't really be in groups because that's going to be putting everybody at risk. And the state of Oklahoma, the coronavirus cases over there are rising just like it is everywhere else. So that might be a bad idea, especially touching equipment and stuff like that hasn't been sanitized. I mean, that's the danger of it. So again, I'm not going to say I'm siding for Gundy or not or anything like that. I just think that his plan, he did have a well-thought-out plan, and he's just eager to get going and get the ground rolling because, summer workouts will be here, and he just figured that they need to find some form of, staying in shape and, maintaining their weight and stuff like that. And that's the difficult part because there's really no access to any gyms. So most people are probably doing workouts at home, and some players have, some people have families or friends that have their own gyms in their own garages and stuff like that so where they can work out. I've seen this video on Instagram of a former college football player. His name is Tyler Ferguson. His last year on the team was the 2018 season. He was a redshirt senior that season. He was a walk-on DN, but they moved him to Cowboy back during his last final 2 years there with Oklahoma State. And I saw that he had a video on Instagram on his story where he had his own squat rack. I don't know if it was on the second floor or the first floor. I don't know if he was inside somebody's house. It just looked like it was either an apartment or a house where he had his own squat rack and he was doing squats on carpet. I've never seen that before. That was pretty, I would say pretty impressive. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. You got guys like Brock Martin for OSU right now, one of their defensive end linebacker guys that is working out and around his home, I think north of his home in Talala there, that at a guy's home gym, and he's jumping on the back of a flatbed truck with 45-pound discs on there too, jumping on top of those, and so that's another 2.5 inches or so on top of that flatbed truck, and he's just jumping right up there as part of his workout. You're seeing people get creative. Rob Glass has sent out stuff for each player to work out individually. Gundy said 3 players are still on campus. We don't know who. I think it's safe to assume that it's probably the 2 Australian kickers or two of them on campus still. You kind of feel like that maybe, but we don't really know. And then it's they're making it work. Gundy didn't seem too concerned about it. He did say, I thought it was interesting. He said that basically they're going to find out who's committed to the program when they come back, whenever they do come back, based on who's still in good shape. I don't think he expects them to be in top shape just because it's the difficulties of it, but I think they want them to be in good enough shape they can get in top shape real quick.
Exactly, yeah, because he's probably having them. He's not going to have them taper off or anything like that. I get exactly what you're saying, because Rob Glass is a top-tier strength and conditioning coach. He has several years, well, really, that's like over 3 decades worth of experience when it comes to being a strength and conditioning coach, because he was a GA back in the 80s when they had Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas. He was a GA at the time with the strength and conditioning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's been there, and he was part. I mean, he left for a little bit, then came back, but he's been part of the Oklahoma State program for several decades, and he definitely knows what he's doing. So he's able to demonstrate and make sure they come up with Plan Bs instead of Plan As, because like obviously Plan A is not working for anybody. But is there like a way? So like, is there a way you guys are you guys like working remotely right now, or how's it working?
Yeah, I'm pretty much working from home for the most part. Pretty much the entire part now. I never really worked in the office much to begin with, but now there's no gyms or football stadiums or baseball stadiums or anything like that for me to go to work at. Can't go to restaurants to work, can't go to the local Panera Bread or anything like that to work. So I'm at home working for the most part, and making phone calls and talking to people that way, or Zoom or whatever. Just finding ways that way and trying to keep in touch with players or coaches or whomever across the country as you can, and make this work. It's all different times. People are scattered everywhere. It's not as easy to get in touch with people, but making it work.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear, because you've been hearing about people getting furloughed here and there, and it's just. But the only thing is, I did hear that some people, it'll last like maybe a week or so, depending on what job you're in. Like if it's print media, it'll probably last like a short amount of time, and they'll be able to come back. It's just, I guess it's a form of keeping people safe, and they're probably like having a hard time with budgeting and stuff like that, especially since
we're taking furloughs too. We have to take a furlough 1 week a month through June. So starting this month, and so we're going through that as well.
Wow, I mean there's actually been some local TV stations owned by Tegna that is also going through the same. They're in the same predicament at this moment. So far, with other companies like Nexstar and others, like I haven't heard if they're doing any of those yet, but it might happen pretty soon. I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen due to what's going on, because these cases continue to rise. I will not be surprised if we surpass 500,000 cases in America today, because we're already sitting at like 478, almost 480,000. It's rising pretty fast. So. It won't surprise me. Like, but at the same time, working remotely is like the best thing. I mean, you even see it with big major networks. Like, if you watch like First Take or any of those shows on ESPN or Undisputed on Fox Sports 1, you can just tell that they're working remotely. Like, everybody's like, they're either using like, I don't know if it's Zoom, but they're using like FaceTime or something, because like you can tell like for Laura Rutledge yesterday on Get Up, her video quality was garbage compared to what everybody else was going through. So I'm like, okay, she either had a bad Wi-Fi connection or something like that. So you can just tell that they're definitely not working face-to-face, because that'll just make them look hypocritical in that case.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different times. We're all making it work, whatever best way we can. We're having teleconferences, obviously, with like Mike Gundy and different people like that. We had Mike Boynton, we've had Josh Holliday, we've had, interviews with them, and kind of just making the best out of a terrible situation. We're all ready to get back. I miss sports terribly. I miss my normal day-to-day job. First couple of weeks were really kind of depressing, to be honest. And now I feel like a little more uplifted. I might thank Mike Gundy a little bit for that, for giving me something extra to do this week. But it feels a little bit more normal now, but it's not going to be normal for months.
Oh, exactly. And then you said, so you've been able to have teleconferences with Mike Gundy and some of the assistant coaches so far?
Well, we had teleconferences with Mike Gundy, and we had teleconferences with Mike Boynton right after everything was shut down in the Big 12, and then we've had some other people on the phone and stuff, but mainly teleconferences with Gundy and Boynton have happened.
Yeah, and going off of that, so you mentioned Rob Glass making sure some of these players stay in shape, and then you said there was 3 confirmed players that are staying on campus. but like obviously they haven't been identified like you said. So has there been a way you guys have been like reaching out to some of the players? Are you guys able to talk to any of the players while they're working out during this crisis? Or?
We haven't talked to really any football players, but I've talked to a couple basketball players and some baseball players and stuff like that. So they've been available and to kind of talk about what's going on with them and stuff. And they're all home, basically trying to figure out what's next too. So.
Yeah, because, spring sports, like all that stuff's been canceled, and then the NCAA did grant them another year worth of playing time, of eligibility, right? So it's like, especially for baseball, track and field's another one where they get a chance. Like, track and field was just getting started. Like, the outdoor season was actually never even got a chance to start because the indoor championships were supposed to be going on that following weekend after Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus against, when the Utah Jazz played against the Oklahoma City Thunder on that Wednesday night. And the NCAA indoor championships were supposed to happen that following Saturday. And so track and field never even got a chance to compete outdoors. So they also deserve I'm pretty sure – I'm not 100% sure if I got the memo if they were – because they're considered a spring sport. So that means chances are they got their, year of eligibility granted back to them. Because but how was the baseball team or how was the basketball team handling that? Because you said you went to the basketball tournament in Kansas City and then it got shut down. So do you know how the team's handling that, both teams, or –
They seem to be handling it fine. I think there was a lot of what ifs for them, primarily because I feel like the chances of making the NCAA tournament were very slim. They needed to beat Kansas in that next game that they were supposed to play, and probably probably make the championship game of the Big 12 tournament. But they felt like they were playing better than anybody in the conference besides Kansas. So they felt good about their chances to make a run. So there's a little bit of what if for them there, but they've got. They had 3 seniors graduate and a graduate transfer graduate. Those guys had long and strong careers that they're not really looking back on it, negatively at all. And they're all moving forward. Cam McGriff and Lindy Waters and Thomas Asagua have all signed with different agencies. And they're moving forward. They're not too concerned about it. And now OSU gets to look ahead to a top 10 recruiting class that likely is going to get a little better next week with either JT Thor or Donovan Williams committing.
Okay, and that's another thing I wanted to ask about is like all these newcomers coming in, like either whether they're JUCO transfers or high school athletes coming in as freshmen. So do you know how that's going to work? Because obviously we don't even know what the summer workouts are going to look like for college football, and for as far as like track and field, basketball, baseball, any of these spring sports. So have any of these high school athletes or junior college transfers, has this been hindering them from actually arriving to campus or actually, being a part of the program? Or
they can't be on campus. Campus is closed. There's no team activities from the Big 12 until May 31st. So they can't arrive yet. And they couldn't arrive yet anyways. They weren't going to arrive until June because they got to finish their semester at high school or junior college or whatever. And so the idea is right now is that I assume that they're planning to arrive in June, but the chances of that changing are pretty high, I would think. A lot of colleges are already going to online only courses for the summer, which if you're doing that, you're not allowing kids back on campus yet. So that would impact a lot of that too.
Exactly. And then, so have you been able to that actually brings me to this question. So as far as the junior college transfers, because a lot of them came in, some of those December grads, right? So they came in, everything seemed pretty normal. So have they been affected by this in a way, or?
If they're already on campus, then they got to work out, do whatever they needed to do. But if they're not on campus yet, they can't arrive. They're stuck at home too, just like everybody else.
Wow, you're right about this. This is definitely unprecedented for everybody. And do you have any plans moving forward? Obviously you did talk about, having the Oklahoma being experiencing furloughs going in, once a week or something like that, just like you said. And besides that, or anything else, is there anything else that you guys are able to do moving forward, or are you just going to be sticking to the routine until everything returns to normal?
We've done some different series with some brackets of movies, and we've done the Why I Love Sports series with some essays on that. And we'll have some projects moving down forward. We're still keeping the sports world moving in the paper. There's still paper produced and stuff, but we'll have some things for readers to enjoy.
Oh, for sure, because like I know it's like I'll look at yours, I'll look at Scott's. I mean, I'll look at Joe Musato's. Like I'm a big fan of the Oklahomans. I grew up in Tulsa. I mean, there's Tulsa World too, but I grew up in Tulsa. But I know I had family in Oklahoma City, so they were always my grandparents, for example. They would always pick up the paper every now and then, and I'll look at the sports page and I'll see your names on there. I'm like, oh, there they are. I spoke to these guys. I'll tell my grandparents that. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, good. I appreciate it.
But so do you have any like additional thoughts that you would like to express before you go?
Just people just need to stay home and stay safe, and we'll get back to life back to normal, and you'll see us at football stadiums and read more about these guys. We'll have a full sports section going sooner than later if people can stay home and get well.
Exactly. Well said. I mean, that's all we can do at this point. We just have to make sure everybody's okay, check on one another, and then I'm just glad to hear that you're doing okay. I'm glad to hear you're safe. I'm glad to hear Scott is safe. I'm glad to hear that the Oklahoman is doing okay because, I mean, it is concerning just seeing what's going on. So I'm just like, it's glad to hear when you hear people doing well and having optimistic attitudes. It's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, that was Jacob Unruh, the sports beat writer for Oklahoma State for the Oklahoman, and like I said before, I am going to continue to follow this Monday, Wednesday, Friday format unless there's some emergencies that happen here and there. I mean, there were some breaking news that happened, but I'll be able to cover that starting in the next week. And again, I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and you guys have a great weekend and stay safe and keep your hands clean.